Grego from Senior Perspective. Today we will be on our fourth segment of the Disappearing Villages of Peters Township. This segment we will be viewing today is the village of Thompsonville. The village was composed of 8 houses, a store, the Thompsonville School, and a blacksmith shop. The inhabitants had telephone communications by the McMurray Telephone Company with the surrounding farmers. Much of the milk was once shipped from Hill Station, now known as Lawrence, but was later shipped by trolley on from the Townsendville station. Moses and John Thompson settled in Peters Township in 1814 and opened a store at the present site of Thompsonville. They became prosperous and carried on a trade between Pittsburgh and New Orleans, in addition to their store. The first post office in Peters Township was established here in Thompsonville in 1815. The village became a station on the Washington-Pittsburgh trolley line in February of 1909. According to records, Moses Thompson was the first postmaster of Thompsonville. After all that, now I'd like to introduce my guests, Catherine Tina Dames Wagner, hi. Virginia Dietz Hickman, hi. And Boyd Roach. So on the end there. So now let's, what do you say we go down memory lane? So who would like to say something first about Thompsonville?
Well, I do remember Thompsonville because I went to school there. What I remember most is when I first started school was the blacksmith shop that we could look into and see the sparks flying, and Mr. Sankovich working on something that he had there to work on. And I do remember going up to Mickledge's to buy penny candy. And if you had a penny, you could get 3 pieces of candy. So we did that often at
recess.
Recess, yes.
So, Virginia, would you like to, a little bit of input of when you lived at Thompsonville?
Well, I didn't go to Thompsonville School. We moved to Thompsonville in late 1935 to 1936. And we lived in the old store. They had torn part of it down at that time and made a duplex out of it. And my father had a barber shop there at the store. And some of his clientele, I think, still in Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, and in Cecil Township. I've talked to them. And we had great neighbors. We had Austin and Charlotte Wright lived next to us. They were brother and sister. And Charlotte was taught school at Clifton School, 7th and 8th grade. And Austin worked at the Fort Pitt Bridge Works in Cannonsburg. Okay, Boyd, your turn.
Well, I'm one of your dad's clients.
Yeah, I know.
I used to walk down and get my hair cut. Little beginning, a little further back than Erma had on the village of Thompsonville. There was a Virginia certificate patented in April 8, 1788, where this tract of land was granted to Robert Thompson. I can't remember all this, so I glanced at notes. This was about 370 acres and 73 perches. A perch to you is 16.5 feet. And it cost £3, 1 shilling, and 8 pennies. And at that time, the survey map called all these sections in Peters Township by names, and this happened to be Tunbridge. And Thompsonville was part of this land. My family records indicate that the first post office was in the old company store in 1815 with Moses Thompson as the postmaster. Other Peters Township records indicated up at the old Alexander House and the Wash House, but I'll stick with my theory on that. In fact, my great-grandfather lived in the house next door at one time. He tended store at one time, and my father also worked there at various times. I started in Thompsonville to the schoolhouse probably 1933 until 1939, at which time they closed the schoolhouse down and we went to the high school building, which is the building which was torn down for mines and sidings and across from the library up there. And that's where we went to the rest of the grade school and the complete high school. In fact, the land of the schoolhouse is kind of a controversy as to who owned it. I think my theory is there were about 3 tracts of land. One came in from the Donaldson's Crossroads side. My great-grandfather owned 35 acres on the back of it, and probably my other great-grandfather come up from the other side. And I noticed the signpost down at Thompsonville School, which indicates Camp C-A-M-P Lane. That is incorrect. It is K-A-M-P Lane. And I got that in, didn't I?
Yeah, got to get that in there.
Because my great-grandfather did sell it to the Camp K-A-M-P family. So that's, I've gone, let's see, those years down there. If you've been to the restaurant, the oil floors or the flooring is still there that was there originally. Every year we came back to school, they had mopped the oil into the floors, which was a thing to do then.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would burn down now, and the fire department wouldn't like it.
Wouldn't let them do that.
That's what you did, was mop the floors. My dad went to the older school, which was
the older school. There was one older than that
one. That's there now was built in what was it? 1907. But the first school built down there was 1856, which faced the direction of Donaldson's Crossroads.
Was it also the same structure as it is now? Or
the old one or the new one?
The old one. The old one and the new one. Were they the same in design, or were they different?
No, they weren't the same. Not from pictures I've seen. I've never seen 1856. I have never seen.
Oh.
In 1907, I have never seen. You know.
Yeah.
So, in 1907, they put the other one up. My dad and brothers and sisters went to the old one. I have pictures of those.
Were they wooden? Was it a wooden building, or
as far as I can tell, there's a picture later on of what I had of it. I'm not sure whether it was wooden or what it was. There was some masonry work on it because it cost $460 and so much for mason work. So there was masonry work on it. Mm-hmm. And at that time, the land was owned by a James S. Pollock. So then we went into the 1907 school, which is the one that exists now. Very much the same as it is now. You went in the front door, and usually you would run into the bell rope that was hanging right down there. To the right was the girls' cloakroom where they hung their coats and put their lunch buckets and so forth. To the left was the boys. And oh, I know we may have had 5 or 6 classes in there. Sandbox down the middle of the room with a coal stove in the middle. The stage that is there yet, there's a little uprising, was still there at that time. There was no upstairs as the restaurant has now. That wasn't there. And I can remember my dad's story, and I assume the old schoolhouse, that when they left to go home at night, they all threw their pens and stuck them in the ceiling because you had ink wells and pens and so forth. It must have been the old one because they sure couldn't reach the ceiling of the other one.
Is that what you did, Tina?
I didn't go to the old school.
Oh, you didn't go to the old school? This was at the old school.
Right.
No, I don't even remember the old school, but it was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, we had, in winter, we did a lot of sled riding and skating on the creek. Summer, we cut grapevines, and you could swing clear down over the hill out across the creek and back again, which we did. Mm-hmm. And outside there was the water with a higher standard pump that you pumped with, and you usually drank out of your hand, or you had one of those collapsible cups.
Collapsible cup.
Mm-hmm. Probably remember the collapsible cups. But,
we used a dipper up at Fire Hill.
Well, you were more
civilized. Every boy, the thing to do was wear high-top boots with a penknife in the side with horseshoe cleats on, and that's what you wore, and knickers. Mm-hmm. We'll probably see some pictures later.
Yeah. Well, Tina, I think you had told us a story once about other uses for the pot-bellied stove besides heat.
Oh yeah, we put sandwiches on top and did all kinds of things with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we played ice hockey on the creek that went by, and sometimes we didn't get back to school when we should have. And we had a rock. I don't know if the boys ever went down to the left toward the Hill Station.
We walked to Hill Station for lunchtime.
Well, we had a big rock we called Plymouth Rock that we used to slide down and get our feet wet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think our parents appreciated the way we came home.
And if you fell in the creek, what happened then?
Yeah.
We fell in the creek. Mrs. Horner made the boys put on high heels.
And
Remember that?
her smock.
And her smock.
Smock. Took your clothes off, and she had a smock you wore.
And they hung them up to dry or something, you said?
Oh yeah, put them over a chair by the stove.
To dry
them,
so you
yeah.
could go home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about you, Virginia? Do you remember any of those?
Well, I didn't go there. I
Oh,
didn't
that's
go to
right.
Thompsonville School, no.
She went to Clifton.
I
You went to Clifton. That was a school that was like on that triangle right there.
Yeah, it was down in the
19.
dip like.
Mm-hmm.
The old log house is still there where
Yeah.
the school was.
So, well, we got any more memories or anything?
Oh yeah, I remember that there was only one sled there, if you remember. It was a short,
One sled?
one short little sled. I think it was Peggy and Ruth Ann and Bill Burke's sled. So if you were a friend, you got to ride on it once in a while. But the rest of us would try a coal shovel, go down the hill in the coal shovel.
We brought our own, or ice skates. That day you walked to school.
Yeah.
And that hill.
That
Went
day
down.
you walked to school? Didn't you walk every day?
We walked.
No, we had a bus. Raymond Baird drove the bus.
Oh, but I walked.
You had a bus?
Certainly had a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Raymond
he's
Baird
much
drove
younger
the
than
bus.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh.
We walked 2 miles.
And I don't think, probably, we would ride down the hill with our Yankee jumper. Now, that's
Oh,
a
boy,
term
that was
that
fun.
you haven't heard, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
It's one runner with a seat on this way, and you sat on it and going down that hill with it, and you
And
just
hope
picked it
you
up
go
and carried it
straight.
back up again. So
Yeah.
that's a
Fun
Yankee
sled.
jumper.
Well, back to the buses and that. I remember when I went to the Bar Hill School, and whenever we transferred over to the high school, which was, the old high school, it was my first experience of riding a bus. I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I mean, how am I going to get on this bus? Where am I going to go? And everything else. Am I going to find the right bus to come home and everything?
The first
And
day
it
I
was
went to the other school after coming from Thompsonville, I had detention the first day. E. Paul Day caught me running down the hall and lifted me up, carried me to the room, and set me down. That was my first day. And
That's a good way to start the term.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Virginia, when did you then go from the Clifton School over to Peters?
When I was in 8th grade,
8th grade.
I started.
Okay.
Yeah, we had Hazel Patterson.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a history
Yeah,
teacher.
we had. You remember some of your teachers and everything. Well, you
yeah.
had Mrs. Horner for.
I had Mrs. Horner for 6 years, but the school before, see, he's much younger than I am. The school, when I first started, had 8 grades. There was 8 grades that went. And then the pupil population got too high, so they cut it down to 6.
How was your restrooms down there?
Oh, the restroom was dandy. You had a path. Ours was on the right, and the boys was
were
on the left.
right. Outside,
Outside.
Yeah, that's
up on the
right.
hill.
And it was terrible in the winter.
And toilet paper wasn't toilet paper. It was Sears.
What's that?
Sears catalog.
Sears catalogs or Montgomery
I don't
Ward
even remember
catalogs.
that. I don't think there was anything there.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
There was a little rickety, too, I would say.
Oh, really?
It was a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Did any of you ever play this game, Andy Andy Over?
Oh yeah, we played. We had a coal shed and a wood shed right on the side of the school, and you used the ball, of course, and you would have somebody on the other side, and you'd throw it over, and you'd say, "Andy, Andy, over." And I know you've played that many times.
I was probably in it. I was
Yeah.
into most
And you'd
things.
run around to try to catch them.
Catch 'em,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that was fun.
That was a very popular game at all the schools, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, we played that a lot.
So,
More
Yeah.
popular than football then.
oh my, yes.
What else are we going to do? We use those, pull those weeds out of the creek to use as spears, I know. Yeah. But they sailed pretty good. They would stick.
Yeah. Well, we jumped rope and we played with jacks. They're not very popular now, but we would play on the porch. We'd play jacks. All kind of stuff.
Marbles.
Marbles. The boys
oh,
play
yeah.
on
Did I
marbles.
play marbles? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I usually took off for the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that where you spent your recess then, in the
Yeah,
woods?
out in the woods somewhere.
You're
had-
talking about ice skating. They weren't shoe skates then.
No, you
they
just had
clipped
those
them
clamps.
Oh,
They clipped
clamp
onto
onto
your
your
shoe.
With a little key. I have a pair. You want to use it sometime?
No thanks.
I'll have a pair.
They weren't very safe then, were they?
No, you had no ankle support.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You
Yeah,
could
but-
use them. They worked, didn't they?
Well, you wore high-top
just-
shoes then too, didn't you?
I never
no.
wore high top shoes.
You never wore high-top shoes?
Did you wear shoes when you went?
Well, sure, I did.
Show you a picture later. I did. Good.
So well, maybe now we can see some pictures. Would that be possible of some of the things that Thompsonville used to be? There we go.
That you can hardly see, but that is a picture of the old school in 1856 that was faced the opposite direction.
1856.
1856.
Oh.
So that was facing the opposite direction.
Which direction was it facing?
It was
was
facing
facing toward the-
Orr Farm or Dawson's Crossroads
Towards
or
Dawson's. It was
Maggie's
sitting
New
this way.
84 or whatever you want to
Instead
call
of
it.
the ones with this way.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a, that's a class picture of probably about 1902. That picture was taken as, let's see,
Well,
my dad, the first
which one's
one,
your dad?
My dad's first row, third one over.
Right
Is
in the
my
middle.
father, and up behind him is my aunt, and then we've got, well, numerous of names that you remember: Hollerns and Camps, K-A-M-Ps, Lloyd Bells, or Bells in there. Now that's a later picture of the schoolhouse, probably, but that's the 1907 school as it stands now. And pretty much the same. You have to get across there. You didn't drive much. You walked, but it went across a creek up Camp Lane. And but that's pretty much as it is now. They
Well,
filled
what's
in a
that
little bit
down
on
in
the
front,
sides for
of the
parking.
school? What's that down in front of the school? What was that? There was a group
What's
of
that?
children playing there or something?
Oh, yeah, they
like it,
were posing for a picture.
Wasn't the covered bridge there?
I don't remember this covered bridge. I have pictures of it, but I don't remember the covered
Well, this
bridge.
school here is one that Tina has painted.
Well, yeah, I did the watercolor. It's an actual picture from the library book that I made a copy of, and then I watercolored it.
So, very nice. So, what have we got next? Oh, here we go with some more.
That's a picture at the 1907 school, taken principally to have you take a look at the clothing, the bare feet, the shoes, the hats that they wore. Again,
The hairdos.
I think probably some of my relations are in there. They always are. But that's principally notice the bare feet there in the front row.
That wasn't me.
And
That
I
wasn't
like
you.
that.
Did you like
I
to
know
go
that one with the
barefoot?
hat is a
I did, but I
McConnell.
didn't school.
That looks like a McConnell from here.
That
So,
looks like a band. No, what is that? That's
No,
another group?
That's
the
just
band.
more class pictures there. I think that's what's her name? Lucian was a teacher up there on the left-hand side. Not Martha. Up there at the top at the corner, I think that's Lucian.
And that was everybody in the school.
That's the
That
whole
was-
school.
that's the whole
That would be the
school.
whole school at that time. Again, that's back in the early 1900s. So now we're back in my days.
Okay.
We must have not got our picture taken in 1933, but that starts in 1934, 1935. I'm in there. Oh, by golly, I'm right under the teacher's left arm. That's not saying a teacher's pet, I don't think.
No, but they knew where to put you.
Yeah,
knew
they
where
knew where
to
to put me. That's right.
Keep
Keep
control.
order.
There's Orrs in there, there's Bionis in there, there's Dodds in there. Again, that's another next year out under the big tree down on the flat along the creek with probably the same bunch of people. There's Sumner, Marie Sumner's in there, Virginia, that you know.
That's my cousin.
That's her cousin.
Marie, and Helen's probably there too.
I don't know that one. I couldn't find her anyhow. And again, that's just a picture of the whole group of the school with a big tree, which I don't think's there.
No, I think
probably
that's gone.
not.
And
Here's another
again,
one.
just going up in years, 38, where are we, 38, if I can't even read it.
36 and 37, I think.
But just another group. And that's the whole school. We're not in bare feet anymore.
No, you're wearing
That's
shoes
Ora
now.
Horner on the left. Ora Bell Horner. So, not too many that you'd remember names anyway. There's Tom Dames in the back.
I thought
Now
I
we're getting-
recognized him.
Drabelle McDonald, remember her as a music teacher
Oh,
on the right-hand
yeah,
side?
definitely.
That's her on the right.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty much the railing of the schoolhouse right at the moment there,
Yeah,
as
it
you
is.
go into it.
Uh-huh.
And I think after that it was vacated as a school.
It
So,
was condemned.
It was
no,
condemned.
I don't know, it wasn't really condemned. They
Yeah,
just
it
thought
was.
there were bigger and better things further up the road. Now that's the covered bridge that we have pictures in the family of. I don't remember the covered bridge, but that was just about where Boss Florist is right now. There's a bridge going over 19 there. Supposedly they had dances, whatever in that
In the
playrooms or
in the
whatever
covered
was out of the
bridge.
rain, but I don't remember that. But it was there.
Well, it wasn't very big, though.
That's streetcar trestle, just about the same area with a streetcar in the middle of it going across. That was a pretty high trestle.
Yes, it
Streetcar
was.
went from Pittsburgh to Washington, Little Washington. And it
Made good time, too.
You know where?
There
at
was-
one time going down the flat with the Gulf Station, they clocked it at 80 mile an hour. going
Flying
down through
low.
there. And the cars could go that fast too at my time. But
There was a streetcar stop there, and they called it Orr Stop.
and that's a picture of a house which was my great-grandfather's house at the foot of Valley Brook and Old Washington Road. It isn't there anymore. It was in there somewhere, and that was probably, see, that's
That's
Bess
probably
Fife,
where,
Boyd Fife's mother on the left, and Thomas Roach with a horse, and I would judge that would be, somewhere about 1892 picture, was my guess. That's Old Washington Road, the road
There's
that
the
went
mud
from
roads.
Pittsburgh to
Yeah.
Washington. Back in the early 1900s, probably. The house was built in 1871, which was my great-great-grandfather's house. I don't remember the barn on the left. It burned in a fire. So it was had to be real early or late 1800s or real early 1900s.
Well, I'm sure you didn't
And
have,
Dave Snodgrass came along and put Red Dog on all those roads. That's the old country store that was built in 1814.
Well, that's
Again,
where,
that's my
that's where you lived then. Is that where you
That's
lived,
right.
Virginia?
They tore part of it down, and they made a duplex out of it.
Oh. Which part did they tear down? The center part, the ends?
Yes, the sides. But there was an offset in the back, on the right side.
And they
that
made it like,
was
you said, a duplex?
There were two families.
The house beside it is still standing there. That's the old Thompsonville band.
Hey, boy.
My father-in-law's in that band. W.A. Hickman in the back with the horn on the left.
Oh,
They had quite a band.
they had quite a band, didn't they?
Also,
I still have the horn.
There's that
Yeah.
many people around in that area then.
must
I
have.
mean, yeah,
Musical bunch.
yeah, very nice.
Anybody wants any names of those, they're available from somebody. That's the old store and where Virginia lived right before it was torn down. It's a vacant lot right
Well,
now.
where was the barber shop then, Virginia?
Well, he petitioned off a room in the back
Oh,
and had the barber shop.
so
It's,
a business right at home.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, he had a good business. He was a hoisting engineer at the mine, and he cut hair in the evenings and on Saturday.
Oh.
That's the Wright
Oh,
House,
what's that?
which was just torn down not too long ago.
That's
That
no
picture's
connection
probably-
to the Wright. That's no connection to the Wright House in Finland. In
No.
Venetia.
No.
I suspect
no.
all the Wrights are related somewhere. That's where Austin and Charlotte lived, and Charlotte was born in 1886, so it was at least that old.
Mm.
But that's no longer, there's a new house there right now. But that was one of the older houses, probably one of the 8 that was mentioned.
They were right next to us. They were great neighbors.
Oh, is
There's
that
the
where
car.
it was right next to, right on that hill there? Is that where it was?
Right next to
There's
us.
a trolley.
That's a little better
Yeah.
picture of the trolley.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the post
Yeah.
office.
That's,
That's a controversial first or second
You had a
post
program
office.
on that, didn't you?
I'd
Yes,
say
I
that's the
did.
second.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, that was very interesting. I mean, we saw a lot of things as it used to be and all. So now perhaps we can, would you like to see what there is now, or do you want to talk about what you've just seen, or?
Let's see what we have.
Okay, can we go and see what we have today in these same places? There we go.
Here's the old school.
Okay, there's the classroom. of the
Thompsonville School.
And that's now a restaurant. I'm so glad they haven't changed it too much.
Oh, yeah.
That looks like
Yeah, that's
Tina's
right.
painting, about the same color there.
Yeah. And there's
Number
your
one, Peters
number
Township
one.
School.
Number
And they
one.
never called it Thompsonville. That's what surprised me. They
They
didn't
never
have it.
did.
Probably the spelling was too long.
Maybe. It wouldn't reach all the way across.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There's
see,
where the
with
pump was on the left,
Yes.
and the coal house on the left. Blackboard is
There's
still
the
there.
blackboard still there. I'm so glad that they've left that in there.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
And there was a stage that had a curtain to draw.
A
on
red
it.
curtain.
Red curtain?
Red
It was
curtain.
red.
I don't
Yes.
even remember that.
Yes. And there's
We
the
still got the
There's the
alphabet.
alphabet up
It's
above.
still up above.
There
Yeah.
used to be a clock right in that corner, if I remember
And
right.
there was
Oh,
a,
you were
and a big-
watching the clock.
And there was a big Bible on a stand, if I remember it, a huge
Yeah.
Bible.
and
Oh,
there
yeah.
was a photograph of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington on each side.
Oh, okay.
I know what we used to do is always have a salute to the flag and a verse from the Bible every morning.
I
Yeah,
think
we
that's
did.
showing.
There's where the blacksmith shop
Yeah,
was.
there's where the
Oh, that's where
blacksmith
the
shop, right
blacksmith
there.
And on that hill in the back is where the trolley track was.
Yeah.
And then right there the trestle started.
It started there.
Right at the back there, at the
and
end of
went
that
to the
hill.
left.
Went to the left.
When we were talking about, isn't that where your candy store was?
I think
I
that was
think
taken
yeah.
from the old Micklage house, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's where.
Supposedly. That's,
That's a bridge.
she still has the Round Hotel.
That was Lexi's house, the one that they took a picture of. I think Micklage house is done.
Maybe
is
it was torn down.
Torn down.
It was Olive and Mildred, Lexi,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yes.
Olive and Mildred.
Oh boy, what's that now?
Camp Lane.
K-A-M-P.
K-A-M.
And Lane is L-N. Mike's going to like me for that.
That where you were
That was
showing
about
where the bridge.
where the bridge was.
Oh yeah, that's going up there.
That's
Well, then the
looking up.
covered bridge was around there somewhere then.
Right where
Yeah,
that
right
bridge.
where
Right
that
where the bridge
Right
is.
where that bridge is.
It had a turn in it. The way that looks.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, that used to be the road. That's
Yeah.
how you got to the crossroads.
You
Right.
had cow pass.
Right, that's how you
Yeah,
Yeah,
went
we're
to the crossroads.
looking back up towards the covered bridge, supposedly, or the.
Right.
What's that?
I'm not sure what
I
that was.
don't know what that is.
1920 says.
Something for 1920.
What?
Oh, that's a pretty scene.
That's
was
the
down in
water.
the
That's
creek
along
over the
along the
bridge.
creek. They've moved a little bit of land
Oh, there's my Plymouth Rock.
over the years.
Yeah, where?
where, don't you see
Taken
it?
from the
The
bridge.
biggest one there.
Oh. You still have your Plymouth Rock.
Of course.
Wow.
It looked better years back, didn't it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
little- wasn't as
I think
polluted.
there was more water.
More water.
There was, maybe it seemed like more.
That's
Oh, this is
That's,
where
that's
what was
the
that lady's
Meadus.
name?
Meadus.
Meadus,
Mrs.
yeah.
Meadus.
Mike Meadus, and they lived there.
They've been there for many moons.
Mhm.
That was an old family name back in those days along that little road. Meadus
Yeah.
Micklage.
And they've lived there, I don't know how long. Do you remember? Did she tell you?
She didn't say.
Well, they lived there when we lived in Thompsonville, and that was in 1935. They,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, what is this? What's this now?
This is again
Oh,
the
that's
picture
Oh,
of
that's
Scan the
back
Blacksmith
down.
Shop,
The old
back up to
blacksmith
the
shop. Mm-hmm.
which now is an
covered
automotive
bridge
place.
again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The road went a little.
Harbison's, right?
Harbison.
And he was
yeah.
supposed to give you the picture of the blacksmith shop.
Yes, he was,
Uh-huh.
and
But he didn't.
do it yet.
No,
Be too late now.
too late now.
So, what is this? 19 then, or?
We're going to hit a deer here any minute.
Are they around there?
I don't know.
Oh,
They're everywhere.
Oh, yeah. they're-
Well, that's another thing. People talk about the animals around this area. We had no deer. We had no turkey. They weren't here. They came
No,
with
they
the
weren't.
people. We had pheasants, rabbits, squirrels.
Yeah.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
There were no deer.
And now you don't even see a pheasant.
No, we don't have it.
So they are new to the area.
And the Orr farm was right near the Round Hotel, right there where the...
Now that's the house was right beside the old store that the other picture earlier showed it. It's still standing. At one time my great-grandfather lived there and worked in the store, but it is still standing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we lived there, Pelkeys lived there in that
Yeah,
house.
that's called the Pelkey House.
Pelkey.
Pelkey. They lived there.
Now that's
They
the
live
blank
there now?
spot
No.
is
No,
where
they're
I
not.
guess the
They're
store
deceased.
was there.
And Mr. Pelkey was known for finding water for Mr. Butler,
Right.
who drilled wells.
That's
Yeah,
where the
with the
Wright
cherry.
House
He
used
used
to
to
be. And Austin owned two more houses as you went up the road. This is, I think, mark on this house is in 1890. The Bayer, B-A-Y-E-R family owned this now and have added a structure on the back of it. One time Ernie Fisher lived there. Fossbaws lived there.
Houston's lived there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the intersection
And
there of
that's,
Washington Road and
that's old
Thompsonville.
Washington Road at the
Thompson.
junction of
Thompsonville Road.
Thompsonville.
That's where that was Alexander's.
Alexander House where the so-called post office was located in the wash house.
You're going to
Now,
get
that
us in
is
trouble.
my great-grandfather's house that you saw before with the old road as it is stands now, still stands, built in 1871, which I live behind it.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, that's on the corner where you live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's on the corner where I live, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
1865.
What's that?
Well, it was still built in
Oh,
1871
that's
or
on the
finished
house.
anyhow at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
That's Alexander.
That's
That's
Alexander.
Alexander.
That's
Alexander's
Alexander's,
house.
Yeah.
where the post office was.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's an old. That's probably one of the original 8 houses that they mentioned earlier.
It's,
I would guess at it.
It was. It was there
It
when
has
we
a-
were there.
Has a lot of old beams in it, and they're very whoever I forget who lives there are very proud to show it to you.
There's the post office.
That's one of the places of the post office.
You know, it's possible that there was 2 post offices.
Well,
That you're talking
well, I
about a
think
former one,
Moses,
and this is later.
Moses was the first man. See, it says 1815. Now Moses Thompson was the first postmaster. Then he probably held it a year, and I would think the store needed more room, and at that time
They
it
probably
kind of
built
filtered
that
away
then. They probably
and
built
went
that.
probably to this place here. It would be my guess or theory,
I would imagine
because
that's so.
Moses probably wouldn't want it in his store anymore if he wasn't the postmaster, and it was probably took room. So that's
the,
at the junction of Thompsonville and Old Washington Road.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the
That's the round.
Round Hotel.
Round
That's
Hotel.
the
on
Round
the
Hotel.
I have a-
It wasn't there, except
What-
the Micklage family still own it. Not Micklage, what are they now?
Yeah,
What's
Yeah.
English?
Well,
No.
she
And
was a
Fran-
McLeod.
yeah, she,
He just died
Is
not
it
too long
Schultz?
ago. My grandmother's
I think
piano
so.
she bought at 20
think it's
is in
Schultz.
that round hotel.
Schultz,
Ah.
I think. The
Schultz.
name.
Schultz,
Schultz,
yeah.
right. But my grandmother's pianos are.
Well, in my notes, I have something about a Palm Mall Lake.
Palm Mall Lake was down below Thompsonville Road, in that gully like the station, Thompsonville
On Thompsonville
Trolley
Road.
stop.
car stop was up here,
Uh-huh.
and then when you get down in that gully,
Oh.
there was a Palm Mall Lake.
it was
yeah.
right across from the store
No,
where
No.
we lived.
if you
Oh,
went.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, her
Well, that
dad
was the
used to
second
ice
one.
skate.
Yeah,
There's
he
two
ice
lakes
skated down there.
There was two lakes. There was one directly as you went down in front of my house, Devonshire, straight down over the hill. There was a lake there. Further down towards Valley Brook, there was a second lake that they were going to develop for rowboats and canoes and fishing and whatnot. Well, they went bankrupt in the fiasco, and all the rowboats just wilted away. I mean, I could still see them sitting down there. They just went to pieces. So, but then it just drained out, and but there was a
Why did
breast
they
down
call
there.
it the Palm Mall? Is
I
that,
don't
it
know.
sounds like father and mother or something like that. Palm
They
Mall.
have Palm Mall stores, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but we had an incident there. My brother Bill and his friend Jack Will and I went skating down there, and we had a sled. We had a sled with us, and we did a little skating. And Jack went out pretty far, and first thing you know, all we saw was his head. So it's a good thing we had the sled along, which had a long cord. So we pushed this. We couldn't get close to him, so we pushed the sled and undid the rope and threw it out to him, and we pulled him in.
Oh.
And of
It was
course
cold, too.
It was cold. He walked home frozen, but at least he was alive.
Right.
So I remember Palm Mall Lake very well. Maybe it's a good thing it drained.
I don't
Yeah.
remember the name of it. But,
Yeah.
we used to throw a tire on the fire down there and skate at night. You just throw a nice tire on there and burn it. And can't do that anymore, can you?
No,
It isn't there.
no.
So, but they were going to build a second road down below there, parallel with Old Washington. It had all staked out, but they all went bankrupt. Whoever, I don't even remember. That used to be our family land at one time also. So.
Well, where your house was, on the other side of Valley Brook, is that where the trail would be?
In that
now,
area is where I
running through
guess.
there?
Yeah, because he owned 8.669 acre in that area. And the left-hand side of the Old Washington goes down with a rail fence around. That was part of it at one time, and it was across. In fact, it went, as I judged from the map, a piece went under 19 or beyond 19 to the other side, so there would be a little over 8.5 acres of the land is there. It was on there somewhere. I don't know where it was, but it was there.
Yeah.
We have
So-
a picture of it, but I never asked, and nobody ever told me what it was, where it was.
Yeah. Well, Virginia, you went, like you said, you went to Clifton School. And did you move again or something in order to go to Peters Township, to finish out in Peters Township?
Yes, we came from, well, we lived at Mount Blaine on Old Oak Road, and then we moved down to the old store when they made a duplex out of it. We moved there.
Is that where you lived when you went to the high school then?
Yes.
Over to the school?
Yeah.
So,
See, I learned
And
that
it-
from Virginia today. I didn't know she lived at Mount Blaine. That's the old Matt Brown house, one of the older
what?
houses in Peters Township.
Yeah.
is it still there?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, good
uh-huh.
condition. One of the
It
school
looks like
directors
a
lives there
mansion.
now.
It's on Old Oak Road.
Oh.
He was
really-
he was into with Jefferson College and W&J and one of the starters of that. So that's one of the older houses in Peters. But I learned that.
And then where the old ore farm was, why they put 19 through. Well, their pasture was on one side, and the barn and the house was on the other. So they put a large tunnel under the road for the cows to get over to the other side, and
So-
that's where Sears Repair Center is now.
Oh.
As far as we know, it's still there.
It's still there.
Probably still there.
Because that was the McCabe farm on the other side.
Uh-huh. Well, it had to be a pretty big tunnel, too, to get animals through
That's right,
there.
it was. It was a large tunnel.
Yeah,
But you got to remember, 19 wasn't there.
that's right.
No.
And there was no
19
high lift
was
to
not
dig
there.
that.
To dig it either,
They had to
right.
dig it by hand.
Right.
And then Tina was telling me about them parking their cars on 19 before it opened up and dancing.
Oh yeah, we did that before. We danced
What
on
did you
19.
do, dance on 19?
But everybody put their radios on and we danced. There was no traffic, of course. It wasn't
Of course,
open
it wasn't
yet.
open yet.
It wasn't open yet. Yeah.
So
That was
you
fun.
dedicated it.
We dedicated it. We danced all over it.
Uh-huh. So,
Yeah, I sat and watched them build the highway. I remember that when I was a kid.
yeah, I remember doing
Supposedly-
almost the same thing like you did up at Hill Church. And we couldn't figure out all these different angles and all these side streets and everything, where they were going to go and all that.
But
Big
if
improvement.
we
was a
went
big-
to, drove to Washington, we called it Little Washington. If we drove there to Monkey Ward or Montgomery Ward, that was
Yeah, oh,
a day's
Monkey Ward.
trip.
Oh, yeah, we called it
That was
Monkey
a
Ward.
day's trip.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
But, now I used to get to Donaldson's Crossroads in 5 minutes. It takes me 15 now.
It only takes
So pretty soon it'll be day's trip to Donaldson's Crossroads.
There's a lot of pleasant memories, huh?
Yes, we've had a lot of fun. with that.
Yeah. So we've
Yeah.
seen it from almost like horse and buggy all the way.
Not quite that
Not
far.
quite far
over.
back, huh?
Well, there was horse
Not
and
quite
buggies
that
around.
far.
They were around.
Yeah, there were a few, but not that
Oh.
many.
Well,
All
I
this one-
remember seeing them going to the old high school with their horses and buggies, and that going down our road.
I just remember the Model A Ford. We had a Model A Ford.
My brothers have a Model T, and that thing, my brother had it reupholstered, and what he did, they had some cats up in the barn, and he had parked it in the barn. When he saw those cats, he ran to the hardware store and got fence, and he fenced in the car. So the cats wouldn't get to it to climb
I think
on.
the
I
car
guess
should,
so.
new car should have a rumble seat in now.
Yeah.
All these camera people around here aren't familiar with rumble seats,
Oh yeah, they're fun.
which is a one-seated car with the back that you lifted a little handle down. It was another seat where the
In the
trunk
back.
would be now.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
So
Are we about time out?
but everybody seemed to have a car. My family always seemed to have some
You
type
had
of
to
car.
have a
They were
car.
great
You
for
had to
cars.
have it.
You had to have a car out there.
Or
Yeah.
walk a half a mile
Oh
with
well,
a
the
streetcar.
trolley. Yeah, Charlie was fun.
It worked on a trolley.
Of course, I've got saddlebags of my great uncle, or say grandfather, granduncle, who delivered mail by horse. So he must have gone to the post office somewhere.
And he went to that post office she was talking about.
So, well, we've gone through an awful lot of memories here, haven't
That's right, we have.
You get them while you can get them, Erma. You might not remember them too long.
Well,
That's why we have it on video.
Oh, okay. I wished I'd had it many years back.
another thing too, when you had to stay after school for a play, or if you were in a play or any projects you had to do, you didn't have a bus to haul you home. You walked.
Yeah, I remember
And
walking
we didn't
down
have a car either.
Valley Brook
That's
Road.
right.
My hair stands straight up on end because they used to say that one house was haunted.
That's right.
And I would be walking down the road, walking. I think my heels hit the back of my head running.
Running.
I never,
Running down
I
the
never
road.
walked alone.
Is that the guy with the
Somebody-
chainsaw that was cutting off people? That
Oh, my
daughter
goodness.
comes across it. I don't remember the story. Something about chainsaw somebody.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
don't remember it, but they claim that they've had it when they were kids.
I don't know.
So,
It was enough to scare me,
enough
though.
to scare you, yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. So, well, I think it's been very interesting, and I love all your stories and all that. And, well, they're real life stories. And that, so this has really been a wonderful experience. And I want to thank Tina for being here, and Virginia and Boyd. And especially, boy, with all his literature there and all that. He's our, by the way, he's our Peters Township historian.
Yeah, right, right. I don't know if that's an honor or something else.
Well, his mother started him out. I remember she gave me a lot.
Yeah, she wrote history of Peters Township, and I added on to it, and so I have my own.
But you know what?
What?
When your mother gave me the history, she didn't use any notes.
She can remember. I can't remember. There's too much
memory then.
There's more history now. That's why.
Yeah, I know.
There's more history. I can't remember all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you take notes then?
Yeah, I did take notes.
So, well, again, I'd like to thank you all, and if you have nothing more, anybody have anything else?
Not me.
No, I don't think. I know
don't
it's
think
it's
so.
come a long way since we were here. What I was learning in college, they're learning in 8th grade now.
1 minute.
So that's my problem is what I had in college, my grandkids were coming home with in early high school.
Right.
That's right.
So,
Well, again, I'd like to thank you all, and this is Erma Grego from Seniors Perspective. See you in again with another one of the disappearing villages. Thank you.